VirtuaMart itself is a tremendously big application. In fact, there is almost as much activity in the forum and development of this one application that it actually is a whole community on its own. It's almost like a community inside of the Joomla community. Now, having said that, I'm gonna do my very best to give you enough information to at least do what is most necessary in your shop. But if you have more questions and there is things that you want to do more than I have actually explained, you could start by going to looking at documentation, going to the VirtuaMart forum, and actually search on Google and other places for answers. Okay, let's first look at configuration. The configuration page leaves you with a number of tabs, which all represent specific departments, you could say, of your shop. The first one is called Shop Settings. Is the shop online or offline? Is it actually available to the public? Is what this button decides. If the shop will be used only as a catalog, then you would tick this box. I usually enable Joomla plugins, which allows us to later use some of the Joomla plugins inside of the description area of products and categories. If you're using this shop end to actually do sales, you would definitely tick this box to enable SSL for sensitive areas. It's highly recommended. Now, do remember that using an SSL certificate on your website requires a server-side installation of a signed SSL certificate, and there is some extra expense when it comes to those things. And so it doesn't help you tick this box without that part being done. It will simply then tell the visitor that you have an unsigned SSL certificate and that your site is not secure. Okay, then the emails being sent by your shop, whether it should be plain text, that means no nice design, or if it should be HTML. And if you are a developer, you would make use of some of these features here to look at some things that you're doing in the front as you are changing things in the back. You would most probably not need these advanced settings. Then the shop front itself has a number of toggle switches here, which you can play around with in the sense of, for example, show recommend to your friend link. You can tick this box, go look to the front, go to a product, look at how that looks to you, and if you like how it looks, you can leave it ticked or take it away if it doesn't look the way, or if you want to be that it must be changed. This will require some development, or let's say some changes to the template of the shop, and would need most probably our involvement. Show print view, show PDF icon, show ask a question link. That's underneath each product, a little link that says ask a question, and then the visitor can ask a question just about the product, that specific product. Question minimum length and question maximum length, this is all determined by you. So if he asks, if it says something silly like stupid product, then the thing would say, hey, that's too little, too few characters, you must add a few more. So it sort of helps you to really only help those who really want answers and not just those playing around. Show the product navigation, that's usually in the top corners above the product. There is an arrow, or even at the bottom, and if you click on it, it takes you to either the next or the previous or the next product in that specific category. Then let non-logged in users recommend, send recommendations. I usually don't think that's a good idea, since then anyone can say anything, and yes, that might be not what you expect. Maximum products per view in front end, that sort of limits the product range down to a number of products per page, and so you could set this here. Display stock levels, this is an option that most of you might not use unless you are gonna display stock levels on your shop end, and so you'll sort of say, okay, of this product I only have 5 available for the web, and then it will show that. Then enable coupon usage. This usually comes into action only when registration and actually placing of an order is done. Then a coupon box will be displayed along this process, and if this is unticked, it will of course not show. Default coupon lifetime. If you create a coupon here in the shop, we'll get to coupons, whether how long it should stay. Default weight unit, and default, you can change these things to what you think is most appropriate. Active when a product is out of stock. So here it shows you how those features are controlled. You can actually select images for each different specific, but that's actually when we get to a product itself. Auto publish reviews. You could decide whether, if you allow reviews in the first place, where is that? Yeah, okay, sorry, it's down here. Enable review system. If you disable it, then of course none of this is going to be of any relevance. Show reviews, this you can control. Show ratings, show enable. Now you can make it that only those who have actually bought something and are members can actually use these features, which I usually think is best. But then you can leave this as on. Don't auto publish any reviews, so that you could first review them and then publish them. So this is just the toggle switches to make use of those features in your shop. Then template. The reality is we have set up a template which is placed under default. Don't change it to no overrides, then it will remove any changes that we have implemented. Leave this to user Joomla default, as well as this to Joomla default. Don't change to any of these others unless you see that we have changed them, but otherwise leave it this way, it's best. Then here you can toggle whether it should show children categories, show manufacturers, and also again leave the category layout to default. We have already customized your categories by now. Default number of categories in a row, product layout again. It's best to just leave this at default. We usually build the whole website's template structure to function in a simple default fashion. You could play around with this if you wanted to, but again, just make sure your website's not live when you do that. That means go email us to shut it down so you can play around, and only you can access in the front end and see the changes. Okay, so there is some what I call file structure here that shows you where these specific things would be found. For example, the category media URL is actually in images, under stories, in virtual mart, under categories, and it's just a path. If you think about your image folder, then if you in your image folder you would click on stories, then you would click on virtual mart, then you click on categories, and then in there is the default category placement of those category images, as well as products, manufacturers, vendors. The safe path, if you hold your mouse over it, it speaks of a directory which we will set up per website, which actually hides a lot of information that is sort of private. So for example, invoices and other things. Maybe if you was to sell downloadable things, then this safe path would be where those things are found. Okay, then we usually change this to 150, since the 90 pixels is way too small. This is if there is no images in the shop for a specific product, then these images are used. These images can be changed to something else if you upload something to the default virtual mart assets library. No, sorry, not that one. I think it might just be in images now that I think about it. Anyway, usually you wouldn't need to change this. If you wanted to, we would most probably design some graphic and change it for you. Okay, default number of featured products in a row, default number of 10 products in a row, top 10 products in a row. These are all things that you can change. This settings here about the styles in the JavaScript, we will have set this to work most effectively, and so I would suggest you're not making changes here unless you know what you're doing. Okay, pricing. Now this one is quite, yes, it's quite a hard one. Usually most of these things are set to not being ticked. Usually you do not want to show all of these different prices except maybe the final price, and then you see that it says the label. We usually don't even show the label, and so most of the time all these boxes are unticked. This really is all to do with the way that you want the client to see the price. Some people think that it's best for the client to see something like a base price, and then show some discount without tax, and then show the sales price without tax with the discount, and then show them, and they want the client to sort of see that, okay, it would have cost you this, and now with the discount it will cost you that, and all those things. This could sort of, if you want to make use of those features, most of the times the templates that we have built for your use do not actually display all those options very well. And so we usually would just use final sales price and show tax in the cart if you are selling actually those products. And if you know, packaging, you could add that. And if there is no price, let's say for some reason you didn't have added a price, that it will show a link to call for a price. This is sort of the features here. You could go and maybe tick something here, go to a product in the front page and look at how it's changed its display. But these kind of features, usually we would have set those once we before basically putting your website live. We would have set these, we would have looked at some of these settings then already. So this is only if you wanted to make some more changes that you've actually got access to that. The checkout process, this again, all that is dependent on how many things do you want done. We usually display the module pop-up upon add to cart. If somebody ticks add to cart, then there's a little pop-up. You can stop that from showing if you wanted to. Enable automatic select shipment. This is if there is only one shipment method, and for all purposes they don't really have a choice, they must use this shipment, then you would usually have this ticked. But if you have, let's say, FedEx as well as postal and whatever different shipment methods, and some are different pricing structures, then you would most of the time not use this. Okay, the same with the automated selection of payments. If you have just one option, bank transfer or whatever pay gate you make use of, then in all practical purposes you would leave this unchecked, because then they can select which payment they want to use. But if you have only one, then yeah, so if you have multiple, leave it unchecked. If you have only one, check it rather, since it doesn't really matter. Then he just has one option, and he doesn't if he doesn't want to use that option, he can't use your shop, right? So okay. If the customer must agree to certain terms, we'll still look at where these things are set. There's an actual place which we set the terms for, which the customer must agree upon, as well as the show terms of services on the checkout. Now there is a difference of showing it and agreeing to it. If it's a must agree, then it sort of is compulsory, must tick the box. And so you could have it show, but it might not be compulsory. So this is what these switches would do. Now you could decide whether customers can actually check out through your website without creating an account with your website, which is most convenient, since he doesn't need to give so much information. Usually just email address, name, and basically pay for the products. If it's a shop, if it's just a quotation card, then that's maybe all you would want. You just want an email address to sort of get hold of him. But if you are using it as a shop, you might want to make sure that it gives you a lot of other information, which we'll still get to when we get to this. It speaks of your shopper fields. This shopper field is quite important, because that is what would be required for him to fill in if you would have said only registered users can check out. Then this is sort of compulsory, that you would then make sure that your shopper fields only ask the information that is relevant, not really ask the guy, you know, what color hair he has and stuff like that. Okay. Then show checkout steps. This is convenient. Sometimes people stop the checkout since they think, oh, they're done. So for all purposes, I usually check this. I've just seen it's most convenient. And so, okay, that's it. Then show product image in the, this is now on the checkout process. That means if you are on the checkout process, when you get to the page where you sort of check what everything you've added to the cart, that it would also show a little image of that specific product in the cart checkout process. It's nice. Sometimes it sort of doesn't work well. Depends on how we set your template up. But you could toggle this with this switch here, and look at how it then displays. Now this one, which we look up next, is quite important. The moment you want the default order status to send an invoice, when do you want the website to send an invoice to the client, the user? When the order is confirmed, when the order is going to be shipped, when the order, now confirmed usually would mean it's paid, and not yeah, that's what confirmed would usually mean. And so pending would mean, okay, he's getting an invoice but he hasn't paid yet, and so the moment that the products are sort of, his registration is done and he clicks buy, or we'll still look at that process, but the moment that is done, then whoop, it sends an invoice. Now that means he hasn't paid yet, but at least he knows, you know, what is actually ordered. And yet some of you might think, no, I don't want to send that to him until I know he's actually paid. And so this is where you would then instead select confirmed, because this would mean one of your staff would come in and actually tick on the order and change its status from pending to confirmed. So this will require a manual, because you would get you'll get the order, of course, okay, and then you would need to see, okay, did he pay? And if you see in your PayGates interface, yes, he has paid, then you would then dispatch this order, right? And you would let it get packed and sent off. Now, in that process, you would then come to the website, and the method of saying, okay, to tick off that this has been dealt with, you would change the order status to confirmed. We'll still look at that in a moment when we get to your orders. And yes, this is part of the it really depends from each customer how he wants to actually handle this, and you might change it to something and then go do a test registration and sort of buy something and see how it treats you, and if it's what you wanted it to do, you could leave it that way. If it's not what you intended, you can make another change here. What we usually do is we leave it on confirmed. This is what we usually select. Okay. Now product order settings. This is talking about how the products, when it's in a category, default category sort order, okay, by name, by product description, default product sort order. So if you look at a whole group of products, what is the default way that you want it to be sorted? as well as if you look at a whole bunch of categories, what is the default way that you want those to be sorted. Then available sort by fields. Now you would see at the top of the page when the product list opens, there's a list of options how to sort the products. Now you could decide through this field here how that is possible. Okay, then available search fields. This means you could search by these different fields. Again, you could make changes here, go look at the front, see if it's what you expected, and until you are happy with what you see there. Search engine optimization. Usually I would say leave this just the way it is. Don't make any changes here. You would rather make sure that you add enough search engine optimization data to each product and to each category, and that then would take care of all these things. What you might want to do is later change this SEO suffix of a product. This is a new concept in a new framework, and yet we have found that you can, for example, change this to depending on what you're selling. Let's say the main focus of your web shop is sport. You could end it with SP, or you can end it with super, or you can end it with anything. Usually this suffix is used when you click on the detail link of a product, where it actually takes you to the product and shows you the whole everything about the product, all the the long description view, if you could say it that way. Then this suffix is added to the URL here at the top. At the very end, this is added. So that's just usually I would say just leave this as it is. So that's looking at configuration. As you can see, it is warning me that the safe path is empty. Now, for all purposes, I have just not changed the safe path. Remember, we spoke about this safe path. That's why it's giving me this warning. If I was to add here, let's say home, Joomla, and then make it shop, then I need to make sure that this actually exists. Now usually, well, let's say it this way, we have added this for you, and most probably your shop will have this in place, and so you wouldn't need to really be concerned about this. But okay, that's just so that you understand what this warning message here in the top is all about. Okay, next we'll quickly look at the shop setup. This is the configuration for the shop, but it's not the whole. Let's look at the shop then next.